Alright, hello everyone, we're here with Fortnite, the entire storyline explained. Now, this took me a whole ass long time, because believe it or not, Fortnite has a really extensive storyline, and I'm here to explain it to you before the live event, which is in a few hours. So, yeah. I don't want to talk too long now, because this could take me a while to get through all this, but it's got a long story, and I just want to say, if you're confused about anything, or if you want to reread, just pause the video on each slide, because I wrote down pretty much everything. I might not exactly mention it all when I'm speaking, but you should be able to read. Some of the writing might be a bit unclear because of the pictures, but yeah. But anyways, let's just get into this. If you enjoy, please like and subscribe. Hopefully this gets a lot of views, because if you want to know what's happening in the event, watch this, and you'll probably understand most things that happen. So yeah, let's get into it. So the main part of the storyline, the 0 point. This is the MacGuffin, or I don't know, the thing that the story is based around. It's the most important part, and this thing literally created all of time and existence. So, for anything else existed, the 0 point was there. And it caused the Big Bang, which created the Omniverse. Now, the Omniverse consists of billions of realities. And we'll talk about what realities are in a minute. And the one that Fortnite Battle Royale set in is Reality 0, which is where the 0 point is, obviously. If you've seen it in-game, which you probably have, it's in a lot of seasons, and it's in the game right now. This is what it looks like when it's destabilized in the picture, if you can't tell, and if it implodes and the core of the inside is destroyed, then everything dies with it. Every single reality, every single person, everything's just gone. So it's pretty fragile. You've got to be careful. However, if the core doesn't explode, but the outside does, it normally just ends up with reality 0 getting destroyed and being remade. So that's what happens in the Chapter 1 end event and some other times. So yeah. If you can manipulate it properly, you can literally do anything with it, which is why so many villains come to the Fortnite Island, because they want it to do whatever they want to do. So, what else? If you touch the 0 point while unprotected, you just get split apart and you get sent to billions of different realities. So you're just fucked. So don't. I mean, obviously it's not real, but can't be touching the 0 point. But if the 0 point's aligned to a certain reality, because it also acts as a portal itself. It gets aligned to a certain reality, it can be used as a portal, which means it will knock them. In the 0 point's a realm called the In-Between, that's where the core of the 0 point is, and inside it tendrils that fly out to every reality. So that's how it all works. Been there a few times, like the Butterfly event and the Chapter 2 Season 4 event, so yeah. And the 0 point can also make portals that aren't directly connected to it. These are called sideways rifts. And it can also make external portals that are directly connected to it, which is like what we saw in Chapter 2 Season 5. And those are called pure portals. And there's also been some implications that the 0 point is sentient. Well, that's not confirmed, so I don't really know. Next important part, the Omniverse. Oof, it's going to take me a while. I have water. Water would help. Alright, no. The Omniverse is the collection of every single reality ever made by the 0 point. Within each reality, multiple multiverses exist, and in those multiverses, universes exist. And assuming you know what a universe is, a universe collection of planets. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on, and in a single reality, multiple multiverses, and multiverses is a collection of universes. So yeah, realities are pretty big. There are some exceptions to this rule. So some realities, like Reality 0, or the last reality, which are polar opposites, only have one universe each. Reality 0 was obviously the first reality to exist, and the last reality was the last one to be created, which are the main villains of the story. And just so you know, Save the World is most likely one of the realities that was conquered by Last Reality. More on them in a minute. And majority of the characters from Fortnite are from all the different billions of realities. And all those realities are codenamed by the imagined order, so like Reality 0, Reality 1, etc, etc. And again, we'll learn who the imagined order is in a second. So Reality 0, this is where the storyline takes place, most of it. So this is where the Fortnite Islands are, so the reality is built around the 0 point to protect it, so it builds the reality around itself to keep itself safe. And when it started, it was 2 parallel islands, like you can see in the photo. They're in the middle of all time and space, like literally. And obviously they had this giant bubble that protected it, and so it created a fake atmosphere inside, so you can see that it's not actually real sky or anything. And At the top side of the bubble, there was the storm, which is a defense mechanism and killed anyone who touched it. So that's quite important. And that's the way the 0 point defends itself. The bottom side of the bubble did not have this. Throughout the rest of the reality, it's just moons, asteroids, all sorts of shit. You can see it all here. And the entire reality is made up of parts from other realities, just finding some of the odd combinations, like how there's a swamp, a snow biome, a big forest all on the same island, you know what I'm saying? Chapter 1 island was on the top side of the bubble during Chapter 1, and there was another island below. We never saw it, and most likely never will. Unless we do it in the event, that'd be pretty cool, but don't doubt it. And we don't really know why the 0 point chooses islands to build around itself, but it just does. So, yeah. Next thing, the loop. This is a big one, and this is the most important, or probably the second most important slide in this whole thing to understand the Fortnite storyline. So, the loop, which is the lore name for a Battle Royale match, is an effect on people who enter the radius of the storm. It's an endless time loop in which participants fight to the last one remaining. And when you're the last person, you escape. So, obviously we don't actually leave when we get a victory royale, but lore-wise you do. And people inside the loop are referred to as loopers by the Imagined Order. And Imagined Order also created the loop, so we know that. Now, the loop resets every 22 minutes when the storm closes. That is important, remember that. And when you're in the loop, some effects happen to you. So, your brain memory resets every loop, so you don't know anything when you start the loop except you have to kill. And then that same thing happens every time. You don't remember the previous loop, and you can't speak. They can't hear. Well, they can speak, but sorry, I'm just going crazy. Whew, you can't speak, and they can understand like cards who enter the loop, but it just sounds muffled. So yeah. And they also gain an insane aggression, which means they just kill everything they see, which is why we fight other people in Fortnite. In the loop, no matter where you are, you lose, or who you were, you lose all your special abilities. So like, Superman can't do any of his normal stuff, just a regular dude. And you can be killed by any weapon. So everyone there's no immunity from like armor or anything. The loop doesn't affect deep emotions inside you, so the Imagined Order couldn't stop that. So if you say I love someone, you can still vaguely remember that. And the loop also doesn't affect anything that's not alive. So weapons or like locations will stay the same between loops. The only way to escape the loop is by being the last man standing in the final center of the storm, which then changes you into an extra looper. Now, it's the same physical place as the loop, except people in the extra loop can't interact with any people in the loop, and the storm isn't there, so they're effectively just living on the island, which is why there's always houses and stuff, because people live in them. And the only way to leave the extra loop is through portals, so if you just try to leave the island, you just fall into space and die. When you hit the extra loop, all your memories from the loops come back, but not from your home reality, so yeah, you don't remember like who you were and stuff. And you get all the abilities like hear and speak and all that, and insane aggression level goes away. And all your weapons, armor, all that stuff just comes back to normal. And lastly, an important thing is all loopers, no matter what they spoke in their realities, they would just speak English. This one's also important. When someone leaves the loop, a clone of them is left inside of the loop. And then that clone just turns into a regular person. These are called snapshots. That's important. How long have we going for? 9 minutes, shit. It's gonna be a long video. Sometimes these snapshots have slightly different appearances to their original looper, like, for example, some of the Jones ones, and the loop's powered by the 0 points and all the weapons and stuff in there are put in by the Imagined Order. There's ways to be in the loop without feeling the effects of these. These include the 7 suits, IO anti-loop devices, some devices from certain realities. Somehow all members of the last reality seen so far have been completely immune, so yeah, a lot of the main characters don't really get affected. And the only ways to stop the loop are using the 0 point or destroying the storm. At the beginning of each loop, loopers arrive via the battle bus, and the bus driver is an IO agent for people wondering, and however, in some situations, the IO can make loopers start directly for one player, so that's what happens in the Batman comics. Alrighty, next, the storm. This one's nice and quick. Storm's an evil entity controlled by the imagined order. It is alive and sentient, if you were wondering. That's the thing. We don't really know what the Storm is. There's three main theories. It's from the last reality, or the 0 Point created it, or the IO created it. Either way, yeah, the last reality theory is likely though, because it's been pretty obvious it's on the last reality side every time they've come. Now, this is where it starts to get important. There's three main factions of the story. And this one's probably the most important, the Imagined Order. So they are an organization created by an entity known as Geno. Geno is important. Remember that guy. They use the 0 Point to control the Omniverse. So these guys are crazy overpowered. And that's their symbol in the background, by the way. And their goal was to bring Geno's twisted version of order to existence. So the way Geno sought order was the way the IO wanted to change everything to. They created the loop, and all the loopers were people that they kidnapped from other realities. So yeah. Between two islands, in that big cave, they built a giant facility, which is what their HQ is, obviously. And when the 0 Point was closer towards the top island, they built a facility called the Vault around it to protect it. Now, if you remember, you can't see the whole 0 Point in the Vault. That's because the other half connects to the bridge, so that's how their complex works. And the bridge is their center room of the complex. Inside of the bridge, they use panels made of cube energy and or kinetic ore. Don't really know that. But they use that shit to control the 0 Point. And the entire organization lived inside the complex, but they used bunkers to access the island, so that's what the bunkers are. Although Geno lives in his own space called the Realm, which is a bit different, but yeah. They use the 0 Point to grant themselves immortality. Every member was granted as long as they completed the IO oath. And this is some notable individuals. Geno, the leader. Dr. Sloan, the head of the facility, and she's most likely second in command of the IO. The sisters, so those are Geno's daughters. A bit more on them later. This next one's very important. Agent John Jones. He's their best field agent, and very important, and Singularity. She's the Guardian of the Vault. Those are the most important characters from the Imagined Order. And a little bit about their symbol. The large symbol in the middle so represents the 0 Point, and the other stuff represents like the Storm. I think this one does. This one represents the cube, and just some other stuff. And I think this one's the loop, actually. This one's the Storm. I think that one's the cube. And this one was seen on the Guardian Towers, so yeah. And they were very secretive, and people from other realities actually just know them as Vague or them. Like, they didn't actually imagine what it was called. And yeah, they're one of the main villains of the story. Alright, next, the last reality. This one's just a long great. The last reality is the name of the faction and reality that aforementioned faction operates from. So they're called the last reality, but they also operate from the last reality, if that makes sense. They all worship and carry out command of an entity called the Nothing. He existed before the 0 Points. This guy's like crazy OP. He was there before everything, when there was nothing. That's him. What they want to do is use the 0 Point and destroy every other reality and become the last remaining. The last remaining reality. It's unknown how the reality is created, but they were either created by the Nothing or corrupted by him shortly after the creation of existence. So, yeah. The reality consists of thousands of different entities who mostly follow the direct command of the Cube Queen. She's pretty important. She's like, since the Nothing hasn't physically appeared, she like leads all the last reality armies and stuff. Their main military force is just thousands of aliens and humongous island-sized ships. And they're powered by entities called the Cubes, or created by the Cube Queen, so that's what the Cubes are. They spend all their time and resources conquering other realities to expand upon their goal. To conquer Reality Zero. So, that's what they're trying to do. And in the reality, there's just thousands of alien motherships and planets, all centered around the Cube Queen ship, which is called the Cube's Cradle. And that thing is humongous. It's like 10 times bigger than the island. All members of the last reality are immortal, and the notable individuals are Nothing, Cube Queen, the Herald, who's the Nothing's servant, and the golden cubes, which are like the Cube Queen's direct cubes, and then the purple cubes, which follow the gold cubes. And they're the other main antagonists. Now the 7. These guys are the main heroes. They were a group of 7 people dedicated to stopping the IO on the last rally, and they wanted to save the 0 point. The 7 of them include the Foundation. Yes, he's betrayed by the Rock. His former IO member and the leader of the 7. The Origin, he used to be the Cube King of the last reality, more of that later. The Paradigm, she used to work for the IO as well. And she's the best pilot in existence. The Visitor is a mysterious member, and he was the guy who started the whole story, so pretty important. The Scientist, he's the best scientist in existence and likely a former IO member. And the Sisters, the Order and the Imagined, which turned the other way, Imagined Order. So the daughters of Geno, and they defected from IO after Geno left them in the loop. Because he made a bet that they would escape, so... And Geno currently has snapshots of the Sisters with him, so that's why those 2 defected. All 7 of them wear incredibly advanced armor that lets them interact with 0 point and easily fight off enemies. And they're all immortal, and they have implied there's some connection to 0 point. They're the main protagonists, that makes it the main good guys. Alrighty, I think, yeah, we're into the prologue now. It gets a lot easier. So the first thing that happened was the 0 point created itself and Omniverse. And then nothing, started doing the stuff with the last reality. All the last reality started destroying stuff. Then Geno was created in, or arrived in reality 0, and then he found the 0 point. Geno made the IO, and the IO created the loop. Now this bit's important. Agent Jones was the first IO agent sent into the loop. And his first snapshot was created, which is Jonesy the First, the original Agent Jones snapshot from Chapter 1. Whew, I'm getting tired, jeez. The IO built entrances to their facilities which resemble bunkers. Might have to do this video in 2 parts. The IO began kidnapping people from other realities to fill up the loop. So, yep. Cube King realized what the last reality is doing was wrong, and he decided to leave. So he used the rest of his power to transform himself to reality 0 where to be safe from the Cube Queen. So that means he betrayed the last reality. Or TLR, that's probably a quicker way to say it. And the Cube King was captured and tortured by the IO for knowledge. Then he eventually managed to escape them. Then the Foundation formed the 7. Alright. Now this is the prologue. This becomes a bit closer to Chapter 1. An IO agent called Midas, for unknown reasons, he decided the loop had to be destroyed. This bit's important. Remember that for later. Midas started secretly forming a terrorist group called Shadow. And yeah, that was part of his plan to destroy the loop. An entity called the Ice King. This guy was going around different realities collecting tech, beings, and artifacts that are too powerful to exist. And then he froze them on his ice castle on his ice moon. Eventually, the Ice King froze his kingdom and himself and took them to reality 0 to be safe forever once he collected everything. And then the vault was built around by the 0 point, and Singularity took an oath to stay in the vault forever to protect it. And she always watched over the island. Alright, season 0 to 2. The main looper, which is you, so the one you play as, because you've been through all the events and stuff. That's when you entered the loop, and the loop just operated normally. Nothing really happened in season 0 to 2. In season 3, the meteor was spotted in the sky. Important. And smaller meteors started to hit the island, and as extra loopers set up telescopes to study it, and the storyline started. This is what kickstarted everything. In season 4, this is when the storyline properly gets started. So the meteor slammed into the island, and it caused chaos everywhere. So it crashed into Dusty Depot, which turned into Dusty Divot, and small chunks of the meteor went all around the island. And little rocks from the meteors were called hop rocks, and they were all around the island too. Whew. To cover the damage, a secret group called the Government came out of hiding and built facilities around the meteor, and that was revealed to contain some sort of space pod. This was important. The movie, some extra loopers began creating a movie about heroes and villains. Wait, can you guys see when I do that? No, good. 20 minutes already, okay. And how they interacted with the meteor. Meanwhile, the government took over the island and started to fix up smaller damaged sites, and they started cleaning up all the hot rocks. The Visitor, this is when shit gets real. So the pod within the meteor opened up, which was revealed to contain the Visitor, 1 and 7. Eventually he awoke and left the pod, destroying the government facility on the way out. And after checking on the island at 0 point, he began his plan to escape. The plan was to hijack the prop rocket from the movie set and power it up rock to leave the island. Later, the visitor and the government reached an agreement, and they started transporting hot rocks to his rocket. So this was pretty important, especially that government stuff, because that comes back later. Blast off. So after the visitor was done using hot rocks to make his rocket, he made his rocket create rifts, and he blasted off, flying around the island, creating small rifts everywhere. And he flew through one of them, eventually creating a giant one in the sky, which is the Season 5 rift. And now the IO started to realize that, shit, something's happening. Alright, Season 5. The giant sideways rift was causing IO some big problems. That's it here. The rift. So the rift started taking locations, people, and objects from other realities, and started transporting into the island. And some people lived indirectly to the extra loop. Drift was one of these. He was from the real world reality, which is obviously not from real life, but that would be pretty funny. But he was spray painting a dirtbag mascot, and then it got rifted to Reality Zero with him. So then Drift arrived in the extra loop and quickly made friends with Cull Team leader Bright Bomber and Rex. And yep, then the IO started to clean up, so they sent in these guys called the Enforcers. And Drift was given a mysterious Foxglove mask from a stranger. And after he put it on and gave him powers, but also made him a target for something or someone. Then later the IO took action, set an elite group. I always just said that, so. And they came in through sideways rifts to clean everything up. And the Enforcers started hunting Drift and his friends because they wanted to bring Drift back to his original reality. So that's them there, as you can see in that car. That's not a car, that's a motel site. And then the Cube. Unknowingly to the visitor, when he created that giant rift, it left a small hole for the last reality. And they sent in a cube to the Reality Zero. And when the sideways rift closed, the lightning strike from him teleported the cube, known as Kevin by the fans, to the desert biome. Then the cube was like rolling around the island, having a good jolly old time. And started searching for the 0 point. And every time it took a step, it left a rune behind, which was important. Drift and his friends started following the cube around to try and figure out what it was doing. And eventually the cube located the 0 point under Loot Lake. So that's when it started heading over to start trying to extract it and further the last reality's plan. And when it arrived at Loot Lake, it dissolved itself into the water. And we keep going to Season 6. The cube started to show its true power. So things were relatively normal, but then suddenly the cube reformed itself under the Loot Lake Island and ripped it into the sky. So then it was like a big floating island with the cube under it. And then the cube with its floating island flew around the island and visited the ruins, and then that like powered it up and allowed it to corrupt the surroundings. So yeah. And after it collected all the power from the ruins, it returned to Loot Lake. Then, when the cube got back to Loot Lake, it shot a big power beam into the sky and decided to create a pure portal to the last reality. Now that is not good. Doing this, it split itself in the floating island into 3 floating pieces. And other pieces of the cube landed around the island, bringing cube monsters from the last reality to assist in its cause. And since the IO weren't doing anything, extra loopers and loopers took upon themselves to fight the cube. So now the butterfly event. This was my second live event ever, and so yeah. The cube was weakened so much it couldn't handle trying to open the portal. It exploded, so it just died. And that left a huge hole, so the explosion caused the loopers and extra loopers to fall through the hole, which made them fall directly into the 0 point. So that made them fall into the in-between where they just floated around, had a look around. And while that was happening, the IO quickly sealed up the vault and the hole left by the explosion. And inside of the in-between, people looked around and before touching the rift butterfly, which sent them back to the Reality Zero. And all the remainder of the cube was just small, inactive pieces around, so the cube was defeated for now. After a few weeks, this robot guy called AIM arrived on the island, and he was scouting for his Master Sergeant Winter. From the island in the distance, a giant iceberg from the iceberg containing parts of the Ice Kingdom and Sergeant Winter's army flowed towards the island. Now up to Season 7. The iceberg smashed into the island. Yeah. And that like took out half the island and replaced it with a snow biome. So with this iceberg, a faction called the Expedition arrived on the island, led by Sergeant Winter. They set up posts around the island, started doing Christmassy things, yay! And one of their agents, Lynx, she was seen spying around the island and made a suit of armor for herself. She's kind of important later, not really. Now, the main thing that came with this big iceberg was the Ice King, the guy I told you about before. When the winter started to end the heat, the sun came out and started to melt the ice in Polar Peak. And that, thawed out the Ice King and made him come back to life. And also freed his wife, the Ice Queen. And he also started to melt the castle dungeon, which revealed the prisoner and some dragon eggs. The Ice Storm. So this was the next live event. The Ice King, he went to work this plan, and he wanted to turn the entire island into his Ice King, which is a bit weird because it was good before, but not now. He did that by using a cube shard, so to power himself up, and then he used a giant form himself to cover the island in snow. Since the ice power contains some cube power, it gave the Ice Kingdom an army of ice cube monsters, and they were all led by the Ice Queen. So that was pretty important. The Fire King. In the end, the Ice King's plan failed and most of the snow around the island melted, including his own castle. So that means the prisoner escaped. I mean, he escaped his chains and he stole the dragon eggs. And then he headed towards Wailing Woods, where his true, after his shackles came off, he revealed his true form. He was the Fire King. Alright, we're up to Season 8. This is when a full elemental war broke out on the island. Sorry about these little white bits down the bottom, by the way. I didn't know I could do the photos properly. This is when a full elemental war broke out on the island. The Fire King, he used his powers to make a whole volcano on top of Wailing Woods. And that caused the whole war between him and the Ice Kingdom. So, yeah, she was real. The Fire Kingdom hatches dragon eggs. And which they turned into deadly soldiers called hybrids. So those were ninja dragon hybrids. You can see them here, pretty dope, huh? And the Fire King sent them forth to fight, and they were led by the Fire Kingdom's general called Ruin. So I was fighting the Ice King, they also shot this guy called Master Key. No idea why, they just did. The return of the government. So later the government returned to the island, and they excavated parts of the island. And under the island they found parts of the vault, or the IO complex, or whatever it was. But so yeah, they started looking around more, and they found it. They found the vault, and they dug up Loot Lake. And they madly speculated about what they had found. So they had no idea what the vault was. And they were pretty crazy, worried about it. And 6 different sort of giant keys appeared around the island. And these keys required Lupus to complete different tasks, which then made the keys move towards the vault. The unvaulting, the next live event. After all the keys were delivered, the vault opened, and the Lupus entered. In the middle of the room, the 0 point was seen, and it was half visible, because obviously the other half is connected to the bridge. So as you can see here, there it is, the 0 point. It was a bit bigger back then, I just realised. I guess it is literally the core of existence. It can change. In front of it, Singularity's desk was seen. And in the rest of the vault, there was many items that Lupus could choose to unvault, bring back to Battle Royale. So yeah. The drum gun was selected, and Lupus returned to the island. And they found out that the final battle was happening. The prisoner was making the volcano erupt. This caused mass destruction. It was destroying a lot of POIs, and one meteor crashed into the side of Polar Peak. Now, that was really important later. Then a few days later, the Elemental War ended. In the final battle, the Ice King, he froze the Fire King. Just like that, and stuck him underwater forever. And then the Ice King, him and the Ice King returned to the Ice Moon and just died. Literally. Alrighty, Season 9. This is when the island became technologically advanced. So Bunker Jones, this guy's kind of important. He comes back through certain parts of the story and some other stuff, but yeah. So when the volcano erupted, a snapshot of Jones in the extra loop. He went into the bunker with Peely to survive the eruption. While I was in that bunker, they couldn't get out, so Jones went insane, and he turned Peely into a milkshake. Delicious. In the bunker, he became so insane that he managed to predict many future events on the island, so you can kind of see it here. They've got the cube, the butterfly, the final showdown. So yeah. And then he was later rescued, and he was shown a new technologically advanced world powered by the Vault. Singularity. This woman is important. Fortunately, she doesn't have a loading screen, so I can really get a cool photo. So when the island was destroyed, Singularity decided to leave the vault and help the island rebuild. And she either created or took control of the government. We don't really know which one, but either way, she was working with the government in Season 9. And they helped her rebuild the island. By leaving the vault, she also betrayed her oath to stay in the vault forever, which made the IO pretty pissed. And at Neo Tilted, she also had a statue of herself built. That's also kind of important. Now this bit's also important. As the season went on, people noticed that the spot where the meteor hit Polar Peak had a giant eye frozen in the ice. So when that meteor from the volcano hit it, it kind of like released something. And over time, that eye awoke and started looking around. It was like, what's going on? And soon after it fully awoken, lifted the castle on his back and went into the water. So, giant monster problem. Now, Singularity realized that it wanted the 0 point, so she pleaded with the IO to help them, but they refused. So she took matters into her own hands and enlisted the government to help her build a mech. So that's what was happening here. And there is Singularity. There she is. So there you go. And she needed a pilot for the mech, so she approached the best in existence, the Paradigm. Now, Paradigm agreed to fight the mech only because the IO changed their minds about the monsters, and they decided they were going to build a doomsday device that would also destroy everyone on the island, but would kill the monster. But the Paradigm cared about the people's lives, so yeah. Since Paradigm was working with the Singularity, this led the Foundation to believe that the Paradigm was a traitor, and yeah, he wasn't too happy about that. The final showdown, the Season 9 live event, my favourite. This one was awesome. So the monster ascended out of the ocean onto the island, and he got straight to work. He was destroying everything. It was all crazy, and he started going towards the vault. But luckily, the Paradigm activated the mech, and the battle began. The monster overpowered the mech, and all hope was lost until knowing that she would doom the island. Paradigm slammed the mech's hand into the vault and pulled out the 0 point. And she cracked it in the mech's hand. It powered up the mech like crazy, but yeah, she cracked the 0 point. It's not a good thing. And then to finish off the monster, she pulled the statue out of the ground and tilted, which was revealed to be a giant sword. And then she stabbed the monster in the eye and it died. Now she knew that she couldn't return to the 7, so the Paradigm blasted off into space, heading towards the ice moon. And meanwhile on the island, the 0 point grew more unstable every day, so it had a bit of an existential collapse. Now the 0 point froze time, and the 7 finally came in and did something. Out of time. So the 0 point exploded, and it sent out reality waves across the island, changing many locations to older or newer versions of themselves, so yeah. And the scientist, Meteor, arrived just in time to freeze time, so he was luckily there. Because then, if he didn't arrive just in that moment, they would have been doomed, because there would have been no one to save them. So basically, the island was frozen in the moment of the 0 point explosion. So once the scientists arrived, the IO contacted him, and they wanted him to fix the 0 point and reset it. Realizing that he had no other options, he had to work with them. Because if the 0 point would have imploded, they would have lost everything. So he got to work straight away. He made rift beacons. And these beacons brought a location to Alan, but also with them they brought another member of the 7. So, and to make the rift beacons, he broke down IO mechs that were called brutes. And once all the 7 were there, he made sure all the brutes imploded. The brutes. And one of the locations that came with one of the 7 was the floating island again. So the cube was back. So it was assumably pulling them from the past. I don't really understand all different realities, but either way, the floating island was back with the cube, so yeah. He made the mech self-destruct and was done with them, and to finish off his plan, he started rebuilding the rocket using mech parts, so yep. And then the end event, last event of Chapter 1. So the time was right, the scientist launched his rocket, and he flew around the island, opening the rest of the other rockets. That means every member of the 7 was there, including the Paradigm. They all had their rockets. And they all used their rockets to get the scientist's meteor moving again and push it into a giant rift. For a moment they thought they had peace, but then the Paradigm flew a rocket into the 0 point, which broke its force field. And it took the Paradigm to the ice moon, where she started her exile. Then the rest of the 7, they guided their meteor into the 0 point, and caused the 0 point to explode and suck in the entire of reality 0. Now, this did fix the 0 point, but it also caused it to reset. Start chapter 2. And then there was nothing just but a black hole in reality 0. So, yeah. Hang on, I'm going to quickly take a break. Alright, we're back, and next part, the black hole. So, while the 0 point was resetting itself, it started building reality 0 again, and during this time, the scientists were sending notes, and he was saying that there was other people outside the loop, and that wasn't calculated. That was referring to the last reality and many of the other chapter 2 to 3 villains. And the last thing he said that was very important, stating nothing is inevitable. And that implied the 7 were aware that nothing was coming. Yeah, that was bad. Meanwhile, some inter-office IRA memos were sent out, so the IO was still active during this time, and they were doing stuff. And their plan had worked, because they manipulated the 7 into moving the 0 point directly to the bridge, which gave them far better control over it. And they also discussed how they were surprised about the sheer size of the new islands, and they're also aware that other forces would come to the 0 point. So then the IO sent in their best field team, Ego, which was a division of their on-island spy force known as Ghost. Now, Ghost and Ego, their leader was Midas. And he was an IO agent, the guy who wanted to break the loop, remember him? Yep, him. And he also created Shadow, as we know. And Shadow sent their best field team, Ultra, onto the island to confide Ego. And this was all part of Midas' plan, which we learned about later. So Chapter 3 Season 1, a whole new island awaited, as well as a new war. A whole new world. So 0 point created new islands by grabbing the matter from the old ones and then spat it out differently. So that's why maps look a bit crazy, but it was new maps, so loved it. And the 2 new islands both made from mixtures of the old 2. An important reform was the floating island was reformed into Steamy Stacks, a Q-powered power plant, and that was controlled by Ulsa. And the 7 took control of the bottom island, which was... The IO didn't know about this somehow. Don't ask me how, they just did. And the IO maintained control of the upper island and the loop, aka the Chapter 2 island. So then the Ego vs Ultra war. Once they scouted out the new world and set up the Ego outpost, they were quickly met by the resistance the IO warned them about. Ultra took the war to them quickly using snapshots of the Ego agents, converted into Ultra agents. That's why the skins were like something for something back in Chapter 2 Season 1. And Ultra operated out of Steamy Stacks under the command of Chaos Agent. And Ultra used motorboats to move around the island, that's why they had the shadow symbol on them. And in the new Slurp factory in Slurpy Swamps, a Slurp monster called Ripley just sprung to life, and Ultra wanted him so they could make an army of evil ones. But luckily, the Ego saved him. Alrighty, Chaos Agent, this guy's important. He was Midas' puppet leader of Shadow, / Ultra, and he was pretty crazy. He's a strange goop entity, and he was made of chrome-like goop, and he was Midas' second in command. And the second of the crew to Shadow. He's also implied to have some sort of connection to the last reality, because he had cube runes on the back of his helmet. Chaos Agent also used Slurp combined with cube energy to make his own army of evil sludges. And that was how to hunt down Ripley under his number 2 toxin. He also experimented with a substance known as corruption, which one of his agents, Scratch, which got corrupted him and made him go all crazy. Then Ripley was later found by Ego, protected him. And then later, however, Ultra's forces had become too powerful to resist Ego. So Midas suggested to the IO that they send the entirety of Ghost onto the island and start a full-on war. That's when we led into Chapter 2 Season 2. My favourite ever season, by the way. This was awesome. So this was really important. Spy Wall Part 1. So Midas had Ghost build their headquarters right above the bridge in the 0 point. So Ghost obviously sub-faction of the IO. And that facility was called the Agency, where Midas lived underneath. And 4 neutral agents called Sky, Meowscles, TNT, and Brutus, they all arrived on the island. And they all arrived at neutral spy facilities around the island. And as time went on, they chose to either join Ghost or Shadow. And no one realized they were all controlled by Midas, so no really point of joining either. Although at that point there wasn't. So Midas, that's him. The man with the golden touch. Very important. So Midas' grand plan was to build a device underneath the agency that was powerful enough to destroy the storm in the loop. His motivations were unknown, we didn't know why he did it, but he just did. Since he was above the bridge, it was a very powerful area, so he used the 0 point to power the device. And he has a power himself called the Golden Touch, which allowed him to turn anything to gold when he touched them. So yeah, that's how he got that. And he got this from an ancient curse from mummies called Aura and Aurelia. And the curse is shown because Midas, Aura and Aurelia, they all have the same scar and marigold all in their eyes. So yeah. Him and his daughter Jules. Oh, sorry. He had his daughter, who was named Jules, become part of Shadow in order to maintain his rule. And she was also secretly using her incredible engineering skills to help Midas build the device. Along with her snapshot / relative / lover. We don't really know who Marigold is, but yeah. She was helping too. And Midas obviously cared a lot about Marigold because his yacht was named after her. And he also made a suit of gold, aka the Cyclo suit, to help him power the device. Like he would literally go outside and get storm power with it. And the reason he made the Spywall was so he could distract the IO from what he was building under the agency. The Spywall Part 2. So the agents all chose their factions, Brutus and TNT and joined Shadow, and Meowscles and Sky joined Ghost. And then Deadpool arrived in the island. That's right, Deadpool from Marvel, we love him. Whoa! Hilarious. And he joined Ghost and took over Midas' yacht, and that caused Meowscles to get very upset and leave and join Shadow, because he got kicked off his yacht. I'd be pretty pissed too if I got kicked off a yacht. And Chaos Agent's best agent, Renegade Shadow, stormed the agency and claimed it for Shadow, which didn't really concern Midas because they still didn't have control of the underground bit. And Sky's facility, the Shark, became a ghost prison. And Midas left Oro in there, but Oro managed to escape and plotted his revenge at Midas. Right, the device event, first event of Chapter 2, pretty lit. So once the device was completed, Midas waited for the storm to close like usual, and his plan began. Alarms sounded and pylons rose out of the hatches, and these hatches surrounded the agency. The agency glowed and exploded, and then the device rose out of the destroyed agency. Then the device started fighting back the storm using the pylons, and pretty dope to watch, and I wanted to try and push the storm out of the loop, or like, off the island. During the battle, the loop was glitched down. They teleported out of Agent Jones' office in the Managing Order headquarters. While they were down there, they could hear the IO panicking, and Jones was on the phone with his boss, Dr. Sloan. She was pretty pissed. And inside Jones' office, they could see stuff on the wall, like Jones' photos of Jones in different realities, and a folder on his desk containing files on Midas, Jules, and Links. And that Link swap, we don't really know why, but she was there. Meanwhile, the device briefly won and pushed back the storm. And yeah, the Midas thought he won. The device went back underground. Well, no, the device's way down. The IO struck it with a lightning bolt to destroy it. Meanwhile, glitched back to their complex, and the IO were in full panic. So, to stabilize the storm, they temporarily replaced it with a wall of water while they repaired the island. Then the Loopers teleported one more time to the office, and Jones walked in and reacted to shock, and he asked, "Can you hear me?" So the Loopers teleported back, and while they teleported back, his voice became muffled due to the loop's effects. So that was the first time they saw the IO. Changed world. So with the wall of water likely to break any day, the island prepared for the worst, massive flood, obviously. And now Midas was publicly known as a traitor of the IO and Ghost, and took refuge with Shadow for a few days. Ghost had lost the war, and Sky prepared to be recalled to the IO facility. And Shadow believed they'd control the island, although they had no true power as the IO because it controlled the 0 point in the loop. And Chaos Agent just gave up on the whole spy war and just went off and caused chaos. And that's why he's always shown with all the different factions from then forwards. So Chapter 2, Season 3, the wall of water collapsed and the entire island got flooded. So the Spy War Part 3, So Midas had a snapshot of himself killed by a shark so he could trick the IO into thinking that he was dead. After this, Midas went into Shadow and left Jules in charge of Shadow. Jules had the agency rebuilt into the Authority. It's basically a big giant Shadow version. And she had a wall built around it to keep the water out. She then ruled over the island from the Authority. And majority of Ghosts was recalled by the area, but the agents who stayed were led by an agent called Ocean. And they built a resistance base called the Flotilla, where they tried to fight back against Shadow's control. Meanwhile, Marauders arrived in the island through rifts to terrorize Loopers. I don't really know why, but it happened. So yeah. We don't really understand that to this day. Doesn't really matter though. The spaceship. This is kind of important. The water throughout the island drained a spaceship, and as the water throughout the island drained, a spaceship was found. Should be a comma there. This belonged to the Rift Traveler Sayona and Dio, who use rifts like travel through different realities in their spaceship. The loop has helped them fix their ship, and they left the island, leaving an open rift in the sky. That's important. Galactus was coming! In reality 616, the Marvel reality. Now this was the collab season if you're wondering why this started happening. Thor teamed up with Galactus to stop an entity called the Black Winter from consuming their reality. Galactus needed to eat planets to regain power after being defeated by the Black Winter. After consuming the first planet, they came across Sayona and Dio's rift. Galactus then sensed the Zero Point's power and dived straight through it, so Thor followed him. Luckily, Galactus, when he arrived in the reality zero, he was like on the other side of the reality, months away from the island, so the Thor landed right in the loop, so the loop effects got in pretty quickly, but he managed to send a Bifrost's message to Lady Sif, so she could send help. Meanwhile, Dio and Sayona returned in their spaceship to warn people in the extra loop back Galactus. Alright, Chapter 2, Season 4, another one of the all-time great seasons, by the way. Oh my god, I'm like losing my breath to start talking this much. Galactus was coming to the island, and the one and only Tony Stark was there to stop him. The Nexus War, fight for the Zero Point. Lady Sif and Iron Man, She-Hulk, Doctor Doom, Wolverine, Mystique, Groot, and Storm to the island to help Thor and stop Galactus. She also sent a helicarrier for them so they can use it for basic operations. Stark quickly escaped the loop and started his plan. He set up rift beacons by Pleasant Park to bring his entire chunk of upstate New York to the island, so that's like when Stark Industries and all that came in. And Doctor Doom, he was still woozy from the loop, became a villain again. I don't know why he's done that, but he just did. And he turned Pleasant Park into Doom's domain. And to combat Stark, Galactus sent Gorgeous to the island. That's what those Gorgeous were. And Ghost and Shadow both went undercover, considering they couldn't really do anything about Galactus, so, yeah. Midas's Revenge. Now, during October, someone brought Midas's golden chair to the Appendant Authority, and they completed a ritual which resurrected a snapshot of Midas that was killed by the shark. This was not the original Midas, by the way, if you're wondering. Different Midas. The snapshot, he went to work trying to break the loop again, and this time he did it by tampering with the death drone, so instead of removing dead people until the next loop, that respawned them into his own army of shadows. But after October, Shadow Midas and his shadow army just disappeared, because that's how Fortnite works. Stark's plan. After he freed all the Marvel heroes from the loop, they created their plan to defeat Galactus. They created battle buses filled with gamma bombs from She-Hulk's and Doctor Doom's radiation. And then he hacked the loop so he could create billions of battle buses in the in-between, so he used the snapshot stuff. Very clever Iron Man. Then the Devour of Worlds event, Chapter 2 Season 4 live event. This was one of my favourite ones, this was awesome. So, due to the oncoming threat, the IO briefly disabled the loop so everyone could fight, and Galactus arrived, and he was gigantic. Look how big he is compared to the map here. And straight away he destroyed the helicarrier, so that was useless, but Iron Man saved everyone from dying because he gave them jetpacks to fly, and they watched as Galactus extended his hand over the island and ripped upon the middle of the island, and he pulled the Zero Point out of the bridge. And that destroyed the Authority in the process, obviously. That makes sense, because that was right on top of it. And then Galactus started damaging the Zero Point and sucked in the island. And Iron Man and Lupus arrived in the in-between, and they started flying all the battle buses fighting through thousands of gorges. So that was a pretty cool fight. And during the battle, the in-between got sucked into the Zero Point's core, so no in-between. So they just ended up fighting in the middle of space in Rally Zero. And with the help of the other heroes, they finally managed to make Galactus solo every bus, which caused a giant rift to send him and the heroes back to Rally 616. However, that left the Zero Point really unstable. Alright, Chapter 2 Season 5. This is one of my favourite ones as well. I love Chapter 2. So, since the IO was in complete panic, Agent Jones woke up, and the complex was really damaged, so... and he got a call from Dr. Sloan ordering him to seal the hole in the ground, so... to prevent people from escaping the loop and coming into the bridge, so... Jones wanted to do that, so he grabbed his portal device and accepted his mission. But, he left his office before he heard Sloan mention to not get the attention of the Seven. I guess what happened? He got their attention. So Jones's plan was to gather the best hunters from across existence to stop the loopers from escaping the loop, so to guard the hole and He then used the bridge to align the 0 point with his chosen reality. So he jumped down the bridge into the 0 point to begin his hunt. So that was that. Damaged loop. So the loop was very damaged at this point because the 0 point's instability. So the 0 point transformed the center of the island into a zero desert full of modified locations from the island's past. The IO has somewhat revealed themselves to the island, showing their logo at some areas and sending IO guards to keep people away from the 0 point. Meanwhile, due to the damaged 0 point, extra loopers became able to fully interact and communicate with loopers, and even duel with them, so yeah, that was a bit weird. That's the explanation of NPCs, and that was permanent, so the IO couldn't get rid of that. And if loopers enter the 0 point inside the loop, would just heal them and send them back to the loop, because it wasn't aligned to anything due to the structure in between. Bunker Jones was talking to all the loopers to try to explain some secrets, like his theory that Reboot Vans could escape the loop and Midas being alive. Never got expanded upon that Reboot Van stuff. Interesting, so I really thought it would. The Fox Clan. A group known as the Fox Clan was being hunted by someone. They scrubbed this as something so bad. One of the last remaining members of this group, V, reached out to Drift for his help since many years ago. He was given that Fox Clan mask, and yeah, accepted. Deep breaths to keep speaking. Jones's hunters. Jones's trap. Agent Jones traveled to 88 realities using his portal device. So yeah, it's a lot of realities, and he was hoping during this meantime the IO would fix the 0 point. That just didn't happen. They just worsened it, and this forced it to open 88 pure portals throughout Reality Zero. Since the in-between wasn't working, it couldn't just open them up internally. He had to push them all out, so. And he arrived back to see his Sloan and the IO to nothing. And he was really depressed because existence was going to end, but he then decided to take action. He stole all the files from the IO related to the 7. So in hopes to contact them. Alright, Chapter 2, Season 6. This opened with an event, the Zero Crisis. This was pretty cool. So Jones knew how to save the 0 point from imploding, so sped through the loop on the back of the bus. And while he was doing this, Sloan ordered him to stop, reminding him of his oath, but Jones just didn't care. He needed to save existence. Reality Wave knocked him out of the sky, and when he hit the ground, Sloan just kept screaming at him to stop, but Jones destroyed his communicator, and that meant he officially betrayed the IO. Jones got through the loop, and with the aid of his hunters, he arrived at the 0 point. Jones then threw his portal device into the 0 point, which summoned a meteor. Summoned? I meant to say summoned. The meteor opened, revealing the leader of the 7, the Foundation. He attacked Jones straight away, but he only stopped when Jones claimed that he would take the Foundation to Geno and the sisters if he fixed the 0 point, which the Foundation agreed to. Foundation then went to work fixing the 0 point. Meanwhile, the Looper arrived and Jones said, "You again?" So he remembered him from the device again. Then Jones began closing portals with his device, but a reality wave turned him into a butterfly, so the Looper had to instead. Then, after a little bit, the Foundation couldn't fix the 0 point, so had to sacrifice himself. He encased himself in the 0 point in a spire of stone to stop it from imploding. And Jones and the Looper rushed to the top, and Jones turned back into a human up the top, and yeah, so Jones and the Foundation was to make a huge sacrifice. Jones destroyed the portal device by slamming into the 0 point, which entrapped Jones in the loop. And the Foundation, he finished the spire and encased himself in the 0 point inside of it, so yeah, both those guys were gone. Now, when the Spire finished the 0 point sent out one last reality wave and turned half the island into a primal jungle, so yeah. That happened. 5 mini spires called Guardian Towers appeared in the biome, all facing the spire. Those were, I don't know what the deal with those was. They were meant to be important, but they really just weren't. And the IO evacuated their complex and was quick to send spire guards. Like, by evacuated, I mean like they all went to different realities and stuff, so they weren't really around. But they sent the spire guards to each tower and the spire assassins to the spire to protect it. And meanwhile, the 0 point started healing and in between rebuilt itself, so that was all good. And while this happened to Aurelia, so we already know the other mummy with Oro, she arrived on the island and didn't do anything, but she was there. Now, I forgot about these. The comics, Batman Fortnite 0 Point. This is the context page that kind of explains it. So Dr. Sloan, she evacuated to other realities along with the rest of the AO and ended up in reality NF 1935, also known as a DC reality. And she teamed up with Lex Luthor, the Batman who lasted Deathstroke. So the deal they made was the IO would gain control of 0 Point, and Luthor and other DC villains would have free access to Reality Zero. So the first part of their plan involves opening a rift in Gotham City, which Batman, Catwoman, Harley Quinn, and Deathstroke all entered. So yeah, that happened. So now we've got 2 parts, I think? Yeah, 2 parts of the Batman Fortnite 0 Point series. So Batman awoke in the loop, he didn't know what was going on. Important, he didn't take the battle pass because the IO was like indirectly controlling him. Across loops, he built a headquarters and started leaving notes for himself so that he could escape. Although he didn't really know who she was, his emotional connection to Catwoman allowed them to become friends and help each other out each loop. Eventually, Batman helped Catwoman escape, and then he showed incredible determination to escape after that. And the IO loop observations and acquisitions sent in Snake Eyes from G.I. Joe to slow down Batman. But after so many fights, they earned respect for each other, so that can happen, and Snake Eyes allowed Batman to escape the loop. And part 2, the extra loop. So Batman awoke in the extra loop, and he met up with Catwoman and Deathstroke. And then Batman got all his loop memories back, but not his original memories, obviously. And the trio teamed up with a group of extra loopers led by Renegade Raider. Renegade Raider explained the island's history to Batman, and after being shown an ancient cave painting of the IO, Batman figured out a way to escape. Because he's Batman. He's awesome. The group collected energy sources from the Spire, the old device hatches, and a piece of the meteor, which they used all this energy signals to open an IO bunker, which the IO weren't expecting. Well, actually, they wanted that to happen. They entered through the ancient staging areas where they were attacked by golems and IO guards. That's right, golems. The IO has freaking golems. They continued through the complex and they found a meeting room with a painting of the Omniverse overlapping itself, which is how Batman understood the 0 Point. And then they eventually ended up in the bridge where the Spire was digging through. Batman turned on one of the panels which pulled the 0 Point from the top of the Spire back to the bridge. Eternal Voyager, who wanted to go home, he jumped in the 0 Point and then he got fucked. He got split across billions of realities, so, yep. Batman then used the panels to send each member of their group home, but he was double-crossed by Deathstroke, who trapped Batman and Catwoman in the bridge by using a portal device. But then, since they didn't have enough dimensional energy to go home, Batman and Catwoman went back in flew to capture Harley Quinn. And they were successful, but encountered their snapshots, so that was cool. And they opened the portal and returned home, with Quinn choosing to stay in the loop. And when they returned, their memories did as well, and they realised that they're divorced, with Catwoman tearfully running away. Meanwhile, their deal was complete, and Sloan and the IO returned to their complex, while Luthor opened his first rift. So, boom. Whew. I've still got so much to get to before. I might take a quick break after this season, just because it takes so long to explain all this. Raz. So Raz was a person stuck in between the loop and the extra loop. And he asked the looper for help unlocking the Spire's secret, because he claimed that the Spire had been calling to him since a kid. Which is really weird, because the Spire didn't exist since he was a kid, so some crazy future stuff going on there. The looper completed many of Raz's tasks, including killing Spire Assassin and taking her IO necklace. And Jonesy, the first snapshot of Agent Jones, he warned the looper they couldn't let the Spire fall into the wrong hands. And through the Guardian Towers, the Foundation instructed the looper to find Jones, but they were unsuccessful. Because we all know what happened to Jones later, he got captured by the AO again. The Spire artifact was revealed to be a piece of cube energy, and that corrupted Raz and turned him into a powerful cube being. So this is when the last reality stuff started happening. A broken snapshot of Raz panicked and he realized they had gotten the attention of the last reality, or what they had gotten the attention of, sorry. And the looper righted their wrong and killed the corrupted Raz, but the damage was already done. A few days later, alien sightings were reported on a radio show by someone called Mary, and the IO desperately tried to silence that. Alright, quick break. Alright, back. Chapter 7, the last reality's invasion begun. That's right, that was a thing, and it happened. So the IO was trying to figure out what the alien sightings were, but they quickly found out when a giant alien-sized mothership appeared over the island. And that was pretty crazy. It levitated towards the island, centered above the spire. And it abducted and destroyed the spire, but it was unsuccessful in capturing the 0 point due to it being the bridge. Luckily, that would have been pretty bad if they got the 0 point. And this began the war between the last reality and the IO, one of my personal favourite storylines in the game. And Sloane and the IO finally revealed themselves fully to the island, so... Oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry. Sloane recruited the Looper to help her fight this war, and to complete tasks such as figuring out who the mole in the IO who was delivering info to the last reality was. And the destruction of the Spire also sent the foundation to the 0 points last aligned reality, which we'll find out a bit more about later. The war, the IO set up bases all around the island with the mothership, while the mothership sent out abductors to take over locations around the island. And the aliens turned Holly Hedges into Holly Hatchery, where they could collect. That doesn't sound right. Where they could hatch out more of their army. The aliens made a deal with the Ariana Grande for her to perform a concert across different realities. So stupid. At the last reality, Cube's working with Ariana Grande. It's crazy. During this concert, the last reality scanned the Loopers flying about the island's past. Because they didn't really know what was going on. They hadn't been there for a while. The mole was eventually found out to be Maven, so Sloane had her executed. And since the mothership began abducting entire locations, it gave Sloane an idea. He sent out the Looper to gather cube energy from alien arrows so he could make cube bombs, in hopes that the mothership would abduct her base, Gordy Complex. So that's what Dr. Sloane's plan was, to destroy the mothership so she could blow it up from the inside. Meanwhile, some people like Sunny and Mary responded positively to the aliens and created a party for them at Believer Beach. I don't think they realised that the aliens wanted to end everything. Very stupid. Operation Skyfire, one of the best ever live events. So Sloane's plan was in place, and the mothership abducted Gordy Complex, and the Loopers went up with it. So they were given detonation backpacks by Sloane so they could activate the bombs while they're in the mothership. And after arriving in the mothership, Sloane hacked doors and bridges, creating a path for Loopers to make their way to the abduction chamber, as thousands of aliens and Lost Reality troops chased after them. And after believing her plan was successful, she was interrupted by a cube rising out of the liquid foil around the Loopers. So Sloane panicked, because last time it nearly destroyed the island, so she managed to use the backpacks to deactivate the cube and start the countdown for her bombs to explode, but she then revealed that she wasn't going to take the Loopers back, because she was too concerned about the cube coming back to explode. So with all hope lost, the Loopers touched the cube and... where I'm up to? Realizing that they could reboot it, and it turned to blue and good. I don't know how that worked, but it happened. It then carried them to the top of the mothership to try and avoid the explosion. And in the top chamber was revealed that a golden cube existed and was surrounded by thousands of purple cubes, so... and the Looper started to realise, blowing up the mothership, big mistake. And the bombs detonated, which made the mothership explode, and then the Loopers watched as thousands of cubes, including the golden and blue ones, all fell towards the island and plummeted. And yeah, it was pretty bad. And then a giant piece of alien debris knocked out the Looper. So yeah, that was the end of that event. I'm losing my voice if you haven't noticed, so it's a bit tricky. So much reading. Chapter 2, Season 8. Sloane thought she'd won, but all she did was release a far worse Legion of Lost Reality cube army, so... map was absolutely ruined, as you can see here. The mothership had crashed, alien bits everywhere, cubes, so... just overall not a good time. So the cubes. The cubes littered the island and the corrupted areas around them and opened rifts to the last reality. Well, not the last reality, but a last reality pocket dimension called the Sideways, which was full of cube monsters. Over time, the cubes started creating smaller cubes to aid them. And the golden cube, which had landed on the island, started moving towards the middle where the 0 point was. And all the other purple cubes started following. Steamy Stacks also exploded, revealing the original Chapter 1 cube. Yeah, that's right, original Kevin the Cube was back, let's go! And he also started following the golden cube to the middle. However, for some reason the original cube couldn't have baby cubes. Don't know, maybe he got circumcised. And as the cubes expanded, the corruption, giant cube monsters called Caretakers started marching around the island killing people. And when the gold people arrived in the middle, it started floating above where the bridge is. And it connected to it with a lightning bolt wheel, waiting for its minions to arrive. Meanwhile, the blue cube still arrived on the island and created a small grotto near the edge of the island where it killed anything who passed by, so he was just chilling. Now this is the next Batman Fortnite thing. Batman Fortnite Foundation. Another comic book. So the Foundation awoke underwater in reality NF 1935 to DC reality, and he soon explained to him what had happened, why he was there, so yep. And then when he got out of the way, he was greeted by Batman. And Batman believed the Foundation was an AO agent, but after every fight they realised they were on the same team, so yeah. Batman received a call from Superman explaining that a rift had opened in Metropolis, that was Lex Luthor. And a shit ton of DC villains were trying to go through it. So on the way there, the Foundation explained everything to Batman, Yo-Yo, the Seven, the 0 Point, all that. So, yeah. And they arrived at the fight and made quick work of most of the villains. And the Foundation broke Lex Luthor's anti-loop suit, so that means he couldn't go to the island. And Lex Luthor was pretty pissed about that. Then the Foundation handed Batman a portal device so he could close the rift from his side, but the Batman who laughs in the Foundation fought their way through the rift and into Reality Zero, so that happened. The Foundation explained that General controlling the 0 Point was his biggest fear, and he eliminated the Batman who laughs, therefore escaping the loop. And they both closed, Batman and the Foundation both closed the rift, got to write that down. By the way, just a thing to say, you should definitely read this instead of listening to me, because my explanation's been terrible, but sorry. So then the Foundation set off to find Jones and stop the last reality in the IO. Meanwhile, the Batman who last reawoke, revealing his well-forged helmet stopped him from being looped. So that wasn't good. And then he maniacally declared he would corrupt every reality in the 0 Point if he slaughtered loopers. And then he never appeared again! Classic Fortnite. There's just a select few characters they would choose, and the rest always just get scrapped to go away, never again. The Resistance. So a gorilla astronaut called JB Chimpanski, that's right, that's a character. He started a resistance against the last reality by walling off towns and giving them turrets in an effort to slow down the cubes. And in hope that the IO would do something, but they didn't. The IO couldn't figure out how to beat the last reality, so they just prepared to evacuate again. And Slow-No troops drove around the island collecting alien tech, taking it all to the redacted bunker, which was revealed to be an upper part of the IO complex. That was interesting. All that hype for that bunker for nothing. The Cube Queen, whoops. So the gold cube began to glow as the Cube Queen emerged from it, and she took her first steps in Reality Zero, immediately crushing a rift butterfly. And then she ordered her army to leave nothing behind. That was a terrible impression, holy fuck. And yeah, she was pretty pissed, and she wanted everything. She finally thought they were going to win, but that didn't happen. And all the cubes combined together to create a giant cube pyramid above with the gold cube at the top, pointing downwards towards the bridge and up towards the sky. Both very important. And the Cube Queen floated above that pyramid in the golden orb, laughing throughout the season, as her army corrupted the entire island. And then the Resistance set up one last fortress to fight against the last reality, as the Cube Queen prepared to attack. Meanwhile, the AO started to evacuate, because they knew they'd lost. And they just thought they were going to do the regular 0 Point explosion, but nope. So now the final event of Chapter 2, my personal favourite event ever, the Chapter 2 finale. So the loopers and extra loopers arrived at the fort, and the blue cube also arrived, creating a force field around the fort. Then the Cube Queen, she suddenly left her bubble and enlarged herself, so she became all big, and then a beam of energy from the gold cube was summoned, and she proclaimed, "The last reality is at hand!" Oh my god, my impression's just dog shit. And she shot the energy into the sky, opening a giant portal to the last reality, revealing her fleet of thousands of other ships. That's this lot here. That's the cube's cradle. The alien fleet and cube armies quickly overwhelmed the island's defences, and Golden abducted and flew over and destroyed the blue cube, leaving the island's forces defeated. So yeah, shit was pretty bad. In the Chapter 2 finale, Part 2, Mel underground in the complex, the IO was evacuating, and they were revealed to have extracted Jones from the loop, and Florian had him captured. They prepared to execute him, but the Foundation arrives, easily killing the guards and revealing that yes, betrayed by the Rock, to a driver to a power. But he's not actually the Rock, don't get confused. Betrayed doesn't mean he's literally Dwayne Johnson, no, he's the Foundation. He then locked Sloan in the room and reminded Jones about his promise to bring the Foundation to Geno. And then the Jones Foundation made their way to the bridge where they started modifying the panels to make the island flip over. And after fighting off squads of IO guards that was successful and Phase 2 was initiated. So on the surface, the scientists and the visitor arrived at the battle and rescued the remaining forces, leading them through an IO bunker to the complex. And the scientists took everyone to the bridge, and as the island flipped and the complex collapsed. And then after arriving at the bridge, the Foundation says, "Why is she making me always save you?" In reference to Jones obviously saving him, but to this day we still don't know who she is. Maybe we'll find out soon, who knows, but I thought that was going to be an important line, but maybe not. And they believed that was safe until a caretaker smashed the bridge's roof and the looper was briefly knocked out. Then they awoke to see the island flipping, and once the Cube Queen's side hit the water, she was defeated and sent back to the last reality, which also closed her giant portal. And the remaining last reality forces were crushed by the flip, while Sanctuary Island was revealed, home of the Seven. Alrighty, Chapter 3, Season 1. Actually, not a bad season, but just story-wise useless. But it was a cool season. So the island was flipped and the Seven's home had been revealed. The fire wasn't over yet. The Foundation, here he is in all his might. The looper awoke on the shore and they discovered the Foundation sitting by a campfire. He explained to him they had to stop the IO threats like the last reality to keep coming back. And then he asked for the looper's help so they could all go home. And Looper, yeah, helped him. The flip side. Since it was flipped, the Seven Sanctuary Island was now the loop side. And many extra loopers who had been rescued by the Seven were living there. And due to the paradigm being on the Ice Moon, the Origin sisters being on missions in other realities, left us the Foundation, the Scientists, the Wizard, and Jones to defend the 0 point. So, yeah, their forces were pretty scarce, and the IO were coming. Started drilling through the Seven side in hopes to regain the 0 point, and so, yeah, the fight was about to get started. And the Scientist, he contacted the paradigm and asked her to return to the island to help the fight, even though the Foundation and Origin hated her. But he was unsure whether he was actually talking to her, communicating with her suit's AI, which I thought was really weird, but that's happened. So Chapter 3, Season 2. And now with the Seven all back on the island, the full war between the Seven and the IO broke out. This was a pretty bad season, I'm not gonna lie, but it happened. Oh, I'm not in a great mood. I probably shouldn't have recorded, but you know, I don't really have a choice. The IO declared war by drilling through the ground in their giant drill and the fortress from which their army deployed itself. Sloan used this as their base of operations to command their army, and the Origin and the Imagine returned to the flight while the Order infiltrated the IO. Remember, these are the members of the Seven, obviously. And the Seven managed to reclaim Mos Eisley with the Origin's brilliant tactical mind. He did used to be a Cube King. The Order then informed the Seven that Geno instructed Sloan to destroy the Reality Zero and start it all again. Which means the IO started building a doomsday device called the Collider, so yeah. That was kind of scary. Now, we have some more comics. I think we have, 3 pages of comics, sort of, for Fortnite Marvel Zero War, the context page. So, the Seven managed to take back another part of their island, pushing the IO further back, and whew, the Visitor came up with a plan to destroy the Collider by using the Paradigm's old mech. And the Origin explained that the Ice Moon was too cold even for them. But the Spider-Man, who the Scientist accidentally brought to Reality Zero, he recommended that he goes home to bring Thor and Storm to make it survivable on the Ice Moon. Survival is not a word, I should have said livable. Anyways. The Seven agreed, and they, with the Imagine, Jones, and Spider-Man, sent out to Reality 616. So to get there, they infiltrated the flipped over complex where Jones had a sentimental moment after seeing a photo of his dead family in his old office, which is really sad, but yeah, it happened. And they continued to the bridge where they opened a portal to Reality 616, and the trio entered. Meanwhile, Sloan and a Brick Gunner arrived having a brief battle with the Foundation before he flew away. Alright, Fortnite Marvel Zero War Part 1. Deep breath. Just get some water. I'm literally struggling to speak, man. This game has too much lore. Spider-Man and the trio quickly sent Iron Man, Thor, Storm, and many other Avengers to Reality Zero to help the war effort, but meanwhile they found Wolverine in hopes that he could hunt the Zero Shard left from when Galactus was teleported back there, because the Seven would use this to power the mech, so yeah. After becoming interested in the imagined, Wolverine agreed, so it's a bit strange, but it happened. Meanwhile, the Avengers arrived back in Allo Zero and helped the Seven reclaim another base. And the Foundation, the scientists, Iron Man and others boarded a ship down to the Ice Moon, while everyone else would continue the war. Meanwhile, Geno employed his latest member of the IO, Dr. Doom. That was kind of crazy. On the Ice Moon, Thor and the Storm made it livable, and they also discovered the mech. The Foundation was shocked to find the Paradigm alive. Fortnite Marvel Zero War Part 2. The Seven awoke the Paradigm, and the scientists allowed her to explain about how the IO's only other idea was to destroy the island to kill the monster. The Foundation did believe her, but it was a bit hesitant, so he allowed her to rejoin the Seven under his watchful eye. Meanwhile, Wolverine tracked the Zero Shard to Wakanda, where they met Shuri. Wakanda forever. Shuri and Jones had a deep conversation about the reality at a campfire of a night while Wolverine and the Imagined fell in love and made out all night. Can't believe this happened in Fortnite, but it happened. Oh. Wolverine and the Imagined, bro. What the fuck? In the morning, they eventually tracked the Zero Shard to Dr. Doom, who used his portal device to go to Reality Zero. And the group followed him and arrived on the Ice Moon. And they stumbled upon the Ice King. When they arrived there, they stumbled upon the Ice King's castle, which was full of frozen monsters and weapons. And the Ice King's dead body was found too upon his throne, where a hologram explained his motivations and what happened to him. And soon Doom arrived and they fought him, but escaped again. However, Spider-Man managed to steal the Zero Shard, so deliver it to the mech. So then on the way out, the mech destroyed the Ice King's castle, ending that storyline forever. Wow, that's annoying. So now the collision event / Fortnite Marvel Zero War Part 3. So if you're wondering how this worked, it sort of had the live event as well as the comic book, which kind of happened at the same time. So it was like two different perspectives of the event, you could say. So on the Ice Moon, Origin briefed the mech pilots, was the Paradigm and 4 Loopers, on their mission. They then flew towards the island, being greeted by an armada of IO blimps, tanks, drills, and troops. They fought through the IO army pretty easily because they had a giant mech. And meanwhile, the other members of the Seven marveled to Heroes destroy the Collider shield generators. Once the shields were down, the mech prepared to destroy the Collider, but the ground below it exploded, causing it to fall into the IO complex. And the culprit of the explosion was none other than Geno himself, which is in the 0 point here. You can see him. He's pretty fucking crazy looking. Yeah, it's pretty scary. I wouldn't want to go face to face with him. Probably shoot myself. And then the sisters fought him, and the sisters plus Wolverine ended up fighting Geno. Well, meanwhile, while the mech repaired, the Loopers exited the mech and fought through the IO forces. While the Foundation and Jones attempting to stop the 0 point from completing the Collider's mission, which would destroy the entire reality and restart it again. Then the Imagined sacrificed herself by plummeting herself and Geno into the unaligned 0 point, which, you know what that does, splits them up. Once they reached the top of the Collider, Sloan gave one last speech before being crushed by the mech, which is then operational again. And then the Foundation really believed now that the Paradigm was back on their side because she just killed Sloan. So, yeah. That was that solved. And 0 point then aligned with the realm where Geno's true demonic form could be seen. Like, look at him, bro. That's crazy looking. And then the Foundation and Jones jumped in to finish him off. Well, meanwhile, the Loopers destroy the Collider's crystals and made it explode. And meant the 0 point was finally free from the IO after all this time. It finally happened. And the Foundation and Jones arrived in the realm to find Geno and the Imagined both turning into particles. And Geno warned the Foundation that killing him would unleash new unimaginable threats onto the 0 point. And then, as Geno disappeared, so did the realm, but luckily the Foundation and Jones escaped just in time. But yeah, that line from Geno is really important about unimaginable threats coming. The end of the Zero War, so Seven celebrated with the Marvel heroes after thousands of years they'd finally defeated the IO. The Order and Wolverine said goodbye as they both mourned the Imagined, which is kind of sad because she sacrificed herself. And the Foundation and Iron Man discussed about what happened to the 0 point next. Whew, Jesus Christ. And then all the Marvel heroes said farewell as the scientists sent them home. And the Seven all pondered how come the loop was still... The loop was still there because they destroyed the bridge and they thought they would destroy it, but nah, the loop was exactly the same, so yeah. And meanwhile, in a different reality, Genos particles all reformed him, so, yeah. Genos not dead. No, 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 no. It's harder to kill than that. Alright, chapter 3, season 3. Nothing happened. The Zero Point was freed and the scientists worried that Geno was right. The reality tree. So since the Zero Point was freed, it could finally do what it wanted to the island. Convert a large portion of the island into its reality forest with a giant reality tree. Just this. The skull of a combo was found near Loot Lake, implying that something strange is happening with the Zero Point. Fuck. Meanwhile, the reality tree expanded its roots across the island. And its roots did some weird things. It created smaller reality trees called reality blooms. And those blooms, they started changing locations to other places, like from the Fortnite past, so... Yeah, Zero Point wasn't right. We didn't really know about it, we knew it wasn't right. Then the scientists began to realize something was really wrong with the Zero Point. And he started bringing in powerful unsurrounded realities to warn him. And the Zero Point did that, to warn the scientists. And it also started emitting reality waves, so that was not good. And from the branches of the reality tree, a strange chrome substance started to spread across the island, so... That's when shit started to get real again. And meanwhile, an agent called Evie arrived in the island who worked for an organization called the Peace Syndicate. That's important later. Not really that important. Whew, I'm going to take another short break and then we'll go through the last part of the story. Alrighty. Now we're ready to get through the whole last bit, so... Chrome was consuming the island. It was up to the paradigm to save existence again. So the chrome. Well, the Seven were trying to figure out what the chrome was. And they had a little sample. It started multiplying and consuming their whole lab. And them. So it consumed all of them, including the Origin, who ordered the paradigm. Yes, she's betrayed by Brie Larson. Captain Marvel, we all know. It's pretty cool. To leave, so she did. During her escape, chrome structures started forming all around her and all around the island, so she realized it was a full-on invasion. She eventually made it to Loot Lake, and she used her suit to align the Zero Point to her home reality. Reality 659. Quoting the suit. She went in there hope to find a way to save reality, and meanwhile the Herald formed herself in the chrome and watched over her island. It was under her control now. Now obviously the Herald's the Herald of Nothing, so it's the last reality. I think there's 3 sides here, yeah. Chromed. The chrome quickly spread across the island, and so no sweat insurance. The insurance company that's been in the game for so long. They came up with a solution. They used paid balloons to lift buildings into the sky to save them from the chrome. Meanwhile, Jones and the scientist AI Amy, they tried to figure out a way to stop the chrome that could not. However, they did figure out a way to communicate with the paradigm across realities using the reality tree. That was pretty cool. They then delivered all of the scientists' research to her and eagerly awaited her return. So, yeah. The Nothing. So the Herald's not chroming the island for no reason. Her master, the Nothing, true rule of the last reality, ordered her to do it, and so they could destroy the island and take the Zero Point. From her sanctum, the Herald prepared her plan by chroming the reality tree and constantly performing spells on it. So the reality tree was quite important this season. Meanwhile, the Nothing chose a looper called Bites and transformed it into a warrior of the last reality. Don't really know why that happened, but it did. Alright, Fracture, the most recent story live event. I know, we didn't get one for all of Chapter 4, it's weird, but it happened. Maybe because Fracture was such a shit event. So all of the people of the island gathered at the reality tree, and to protect it, they were quickly defeated by the Herald. She then merged herself with the reality tree, which chromed the entire bubble, and it caused it to explode, both islands. No more Chapter 2, no more Chapter 3, all gone. And the loop was left floating in space. Then after a little bit, the Zero Point pulled them in with a tendril and started pulling other pieces of non-chromed land, and started building a new island around itself. And then the paradigm initiated Zero Fusion, which involved merging her reality, 659 obviously, with the Zero Point. And I think it killed her in the process. It's easy to assume because she hasn't appeared since. And also that sacrifice stuff. Yeah, this process left the new island with no presence of the last reality, so she finally defeated them for now. And yeah, that was pretty good to happen, but the new island had no bubble and loopers, and the loopers could see out to space, so the Zero Point also quickly recreated and reactivated the loop, so it was implied that loop was unstoppable. Also, can we talk about how cool this loading screen looked, and this just didn't happen in game, like it was floating islands with chrome tornadoes and shit. Chapter 4, Season 1. Alright, now we're in the home stretch, guys. There's no way anyone's watching this whole video, but like, if you want, that'd be great. So one of the realities merged with the island contained the beginnings of the imagined order. A fused world. So the new island is made up of random bits of many realities, which explains some strange occurrences. Like grasslands in the middle of snow biomes. The herald was sculpted into a smaller version of the other tree and was left lifeless, so she was just dead there. And one of those realities contained a snapshot of Geno called the Ageless. And that snapshot's version of the IO called the Oathbound. So that was pretty important. They were quite similar, yet they were less powerful and medieval. The Ageless started to advance his kingdom by mining for a material called kinetic ore. I feel like I'm gonna vomit. So much speaking. And has many properties similar to the 0 point. Amy and the Looper investigated the kingdom, learning about its scary similarities to the IO. And Jones was left stranded in space for the time being. Yep. Like, the time being, I mean quite a long time. Riftthorn and Stalin. The Ageless tasked his servant Riftthorn and Stalin with creating a rift gate to other realities, and this rift gate was basically a medieval version of the bridge, so yeah. And he started building it, but he needed assistance, so he hired the Looper, and the Looper helped him out. And he later revealed that a shapeless man had been telling him to do things, or terrible consequences would happen. Then Stalin mentioned that the shapeless man envisioned a world of perfect order, and it became apparent that the shapeless man is the original Geno. Yeah, that's right, him. And Amy and the Looper experimented with the rift gate and created smaller rifts, which led to the last reality. And Amy sent test subjects through, and they all came back corrupted, mentioning nothing was sculpting the Seven anew, so that wasn't good. The Seven were being turned into like servants by the Nothing, but we never really we haven't seen that yet, but we might soon. Now, Amy made herself a robot body and used the rift gate to go to the last reality to try and save the Seven. She probably got destroyed, I'm not gonna lie, but hopefully we'll see what happens. But however, before Geno's plan succeeded, the rift gate was sabotaged and someone had it exploded, so yeah, rip Geno. Plan did not work. And the Ageless was infuriated in this, and Stalin bid the Looper farewell. And that Stalin, the Ageless, and the Oathbound were never seen again. Agent Evie from Chapter 3, Season 3, I think. She later received a transmission saying the Peace Syndicate was coming to Reality Zero. Chapter 4, Season 2, one of the most irrelevant seasons ever. The Syndicate War. The Peace Syndicate, along with their city, Mega City, and several other syndicates arrived on the island through a giant rift. I don't really know how that happened, but it happened. The Looper was recruited by Evie and was told that someone was plotting the syndicates against each other. And they were blaming it on the Peace Syndicate. So the Looper later discovered the culprit to be Treyarch Nox, a fallen, corrupted king who destroyed realities and had an affiliation with the last reality, evidenced by his deletion of all their files off Peace Syndicate computers. Eventually all of the clans, the Peace Syndicate, the River Guard, Fox Clan, Luminaries, and the Unseen made peace and were told about Treyarch Nox. So yes, this is the Fox Clan with like Drift and all that. And later cracks around the island started appearing, and due to Mega City's landing and 0 point earthquakes started happening. It's Chapter 4, Season 3, another irrelevant season. I don't remember getting this skin, this Meowthles skin. I might not have it. I don't even know if I had the Battle Pass this season. I really didn't grind much, so I wasn't a fan. Sloan survival. So all this time, Sloan was revealed to have been alive in this new jungle underground. Her tank survived being smashed by the mech as it fell into the 0 point and she ended up in the jungle, where a hunter called Relic rescued her and healed her. She gave up on the IO considering that Geno did nothing to try and rescue her. And in her time underground, she studied the ancient civilization that used to live there. During her study, she found the apparatus, which was a kinetic ore-inspired projector / telescope. Bit of both. And Optimus Prime from Transformers, yes, he's just there. He contacted Sloan and told her to study the stars, and they were all in grave danger. I'm not too sure what Optimus Prime had to do with this, but yeah, it happened. The apparatus showed an eclipse, which Sloan recognized. Meanwhile, Treyarch Nox was hunted by the Treyarchs, and it was revealed that he was once a great ruler, but corrupted, corrupted by decaying force, possibly the Nothing. Chapter 4, Season 4! Kato Thorn in his hotel arrived through time. The question was, what did he want? Kato Thorn. He was a time-traveling collector-like vampire. And he arrived on the island with his hotels and army. He drained all the island's funds and resources for his hotels, and however, Sloan didn't really care about that, but she just wanted his time machine, She had a bigger plan. Sloan assembled a heist team including Nolan, Chance, Jones, who had just arrived back on the island now, and the Looper to steal the time machine from Thorne's hotel. After arriving from back in time with Aura's head, so yeah, I think Aura's dead now. He was enraged, or maybe not, I'm not sure. He was enraged to find the teams trying to steal his machines with a remaining vampire form to guard it, so yeah, that's this here. That's a dope loading screen, by the way. Thorne prepared for his next target, Chapter 1, Season 5, but couldn't go there due to the heist team being successful the second time. They stole the time machine from him. And in Shimmer Dusk, a vampire hunter had been hunting Thorne for hundreds of years, and enlisted Lupus help in killing Thorne once and for all, so it's kind of a pointless villain, but it happened. The time machine. This bit's important. So with Thorne's vault unguarded, Triarch Nox redeemed himself by stealing a relic that would let him heal himself and his kingdom. Just thought I should include that, just so that gets concluded, but not really important. And with the time machine being relocated to Frenzy Fields, Sloan could study and prepare to send Jones back to the original island to acquire something or someone. Bum, bum, bum. Fortnite Chapter 4, Season OG. Back in time. In a blast through the past mission, Jones has been sent back to find something or someone. The return. So Jones arrived back in Chapter 1, Season 5 with the time machine and landed in Pleasant Park. So that's what's happening here, if you're wondering what that was in-game. And got straight to work on he and Sloan's plan. Joan discovered that Thorne's time travels had changed the timeline with many minor changes to the timeline. And also some big ones, so time had been changed. Which I assume will change what happens in the end event tomorrow. Sloan left Jones some messages from the future to update him on his mission. And to try and change the timeline as easy as possible, because Sloan was literally seeing reality change around her back in Chapter 4, so that's pretty crazy. So these are some of the major timeline changes are listed. So several characters such as Griff never existed. The Sideways Rift closed far earlier, even before the cube arrived. The butterfly event never happened, leaving the cube floating above the vault at 0 point. The Ice King, Fire King, Polar Peak, and the monster never got broken off of the ice due to the cube not exploding, so that just didn't happen. The pirates couldn't dock their ship, therefore Lazy Lagoon never existed. And meanwhile, the cube extracted the 0 point from the vault, this time not destabilizing it, so I guess we're about to find out what the cube originally was supposed to do. And then the last slide, finally, I can't believe it, out of time. So Jones kept travelling through time looking for the 7. We don't really know if this is what his plan was, but he's looking for them. Once he arrived in the right point in time, he began preparing dust to give it for them. And once the scientists arrived in his meteor, Jones presumably made a deal with him. As the time machine is now strapped to the rocket, that's right. It's about to happen, the event. So now that Jones has found the 7, are they who Sloan wanted him to retrieve? How will he stop the cube from taking control of 0 point? And most importantly, how does Eminem and Lego figure into all of this? Oh my god, that's it. Only time will tell. So, live event tomorrow. Hopefully we'll see Agent Jones finally end the storyline. I'm a bit sick of it. But I know it won't end because there's still so much unanswered stuff like Geno and nothing and all that. But yeah, that's the end of the video. Thank you if you've watched this far. Thank you so much for watching. But yeah, this is kind of huge and it took me a long time to make this. So views and likes would be appreciated. So thank you so much. Bye bye. See you tomorrow morning. Nice stream. Don't worry, I'll be streaming it.